is something where you are living into the present. But once you come into the business side, you are planning the future. So that was the zeal to move from present to the future, move from technology to the business, move from operations guy to the business side. So this was the main motivation to get into the sales side. Middle East, no doubt, it's a more market towards the relationship. Africa is a mixture of the relationship as well as the technology solutions. And India is absolutely different market. In India, you must show the value. If there are challenges, the opportunities will also come into the parallel. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our wonderful podcast. Today, my guest is somebody special, Vikas Gupta, who has joined us in a senior sales role just recently. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with him. The goal of this conversation is to understand Vikas a bit more. The last podcast that I did was very well received because we have a global workforce. And these types of interactions give an opportunity for all of the employees who may not be able to individually hear Vikas's story, but so that he can share his story. And of course, the other motive also is to tell everyone, our partners, who you are, and also tell them about our ambitious plans for expansion in new geographies and understand some of your experience. So that is the goal. So with that, I welcome Vikas. Vikas, welcome to this podcast.
Thank you so much, Arvind. And thank you very much for this great opportunity to do this podcast, to have the good communication with your partners, your global workforce, your clientele, and how we can become a global company day by day. Thank you so much for giving me this an opportunity. That's great. Please.
It's wonderful. No, and I'm more excited than you. Like I said, even from the very beginning when we were interviewing, the kinds of discussions that we had, and I love your energy and confidence. So that's great. And hopefully we can share with some of the younger audience as well, how to get a career and become, someone like you, a sales leader, and maybe even share some tips for others who are trying to accomplish something similar. Because the culture of corporate digital is to, share with everyone. It's not about information hoarding, but whatever it is that we're doing, whatever the strategies are that are working, for us, our experience, we want to be able to share with the younger people and see how it can benefit them. So, with that, I would like to give a little bit of background. There was a time when we were getting left and right a lot of M&A queries, and people were like, okay, well, we would like to join hands with you and acquire your company. And it obviously, I paused and I thought about it, and I saw that really corporate digital is a lot more than a big paycheck in the end for me. It's really, who I am. And it's really, I love the team so much that it just motivates me and it helps me stay up to date. And, it is just such a great platform that I'm so lucky to have. And that's something that I was lucky to find some amazing people. And as that time came, I was reflecting. I was like, okay, well, what is the new phase of corporate digital? Like after the pandemic, I was like, where do we want to be in the next 5 years? And, what are some of the goals? And it aligned a little bit with my personal life goals as well as I turned 40. And that's when I was like, okay, well, where do I want to take the company? And, I saw that, we want to be able to use the American innovation and all of our experience and disperse all of that experience and share all those stories and help customers in different geographies. And typically, we've been a company that's just focused on America because, of course, being an American citizen and Indian American, I'm so grateful for everything that America has given me in the last 20 years of living there. But beyond that as well, I think it's the ease of doing business, and especially advice for young entrepreneurs. Like if you're selecting a market, of course, the easiest one is North America, because you can just go in there and things are well defined and people are more open to doing business. So it's an easier one to crack, is generally been my opinion. And plus, I thought there's so much business in our backyard. Why do we need to go to new geographies? But with that, thought process, when I really thought about it, I saw that ambitious self came, and I was like, what? We want to be in as many geographies and more technologies as possible. possible. And that's when I thought, okay, well, we have to be in Middle East, we have to be in India, we have to be in Central and North Africa. Your focus has been first locally, connecting with a lot of these partners that you've already worked with. And then, of course, Middle East, we've gotten some channel partnership going there. And I think in the next leg, there's going to be some focus on Central Africa and North Africa as well. So that's the background for all the viewers. But I guess I want to begin by asking this important question, from you, like what really inspires you on a daily basis? What gets you out of bed? And why did you decide to pursue a career in sales, as you took all these roles in the last couple of decades that you worked in the industry?
Very, very interesting question, Arvind. Very interesting question. So basically, total I have experience of more than 24 years into different geography, to Middle East, Africa, Europe, Asia. And I tell you, in the initial 10 years of my experience where I was purely into the technological roles, then after 10 years, I got an idea into my mind that I should switch from technology to business side. And what inspired me to move from technology to business side is an internal zeal that how can I meet with the key stakeholders, the KDMs, and how can we add the value into their business. Being worked on the pure technology side where you're doing day-to-day technological stuff, whether it's operation and maintenance or engineering or the planning of the network, is something where you are living into the present. But once you come into the business side, you are planning the future. So that was the zeal to move from present to the future, move from technology to the business, move from operations guy to the business side. So this was the main motivation to get into the sales side. So and then I got an opportunity.
That's put in a very good way. I've never heard of it that way. I think from the present to the future, that's fantastic. And I think that aligns with a lot of amazing leaders, right? I saw an interview from Jeff Bezos and he talked about if you're working, on the business, on something that, is for today, I mean, that's really just reacting. But your strategy needs to be where you want to see the company 3 years down the road. And if you're working on areas where you want to take the company in 3 years, then you're really being effective. So I think that's wonderful and a nice way to put that. So what technologies were you initially a part of? And then when you moved to sales, what is it that you were selling initially?
So initially, it was a network of 2G mobile. So I was working with different world-leading telcos company like Ooredoo, Saudi Telecom Company, then the Mobinil, Egypt, and then Bharti Airtel in Africa, in India market. And then we were operating on 2G, 2.5G around 20 years ago. And then the era came of 3G, then the data came into picture. And then we moved from traditional telecom network to a digital telecom network, including the MPLS and the IT backbone and the various IT solutions. And this is how it evolved from traditional to the new digital technology into different.
Very interesting. Because I mean, for the audience, what we really do is we are a digital transformation company where we solve problems of our customers using, innovative solutions. Emerging technology specifically is what gets us really excited. And, we're technology agnostic. So it's really focusing on the problem or on the goals that the customers may have. That's what we really focus on. And with that said, I think what I'm seeing is a pattern because even I started my career in telecom. I was at Fujitsu Network Communication 20 years ago. And that's when, that was actually my very first job in the US. And that's when I was, understanding really how important it is as the backbone of the economy. Like telecom is really, all about enabling communication and enabling different places with data and getting everything connected. And I think it's a good shift to, what we became. Like initially we were copper mobile, where we were focusing on mobile solutions. And the reason for that was because there was just this wave. Like now, like 14 years ago, what happened was the bandwidth became more and more, and those applications that were only a dream and only a few of the very big corporations could have now were available for all of the small, medium-sized businesses as well. As an example, FedEx has had, mobile devices enabled for their workforce. I mean, even 20 years ago, even before any of these iPhones or any of these things came out, they had those scanners and, whether they were Windows based. But then we evolved into becoming a mobile solutions company to democratize those mobile solutions for not just the enterprises, but even for small, medium-sized businesses. And thanks to the platform model of Apple for enabling the enterprises and allowing the applications to be published. So that drove a lot of innovation. So that's one. And then after that, the transition into being a digital transformation company has also been because our customers were really looking for a complete solution. It wasn't just mobile and IoT, which was our initial focus, but then the cloud that goes with it. And then with AI, ML picking up, I mean, initially we used to call it just ML, and then now it's just ubiquitously AI. So these AI-based ideas are the next wave, just like mobile was in 2010. And I think to enable these, we just really need to focus on what are the kinds of problems that we want to solve. And, you and I, of course, collaborate on a lot of these opportunities. We're working with a logistics company where all they want is, can you tell us what are some of the things that now we can do with AI, including route planning or including, some of the predictive stuff that's now possible. So that's fantastic. Now, shifting gears a little bit, can you share maybe some of the challenging sales scenarios that you faced maybe early in your career and how you navigated through some of those?
Oh, that's a great question, Arvind. So basically, I still remember those days when we were at a customer site and facing a lot of struggle and the stiff competition from the existing vendor. And this existing vendor is undoubtedly a world famous reputed OEMs in telco. And I was heading the sales with other OEMs. And then when we were meeting with the client, but the client was not very flexible to migrate from the existing supplier to our supplier, our solution. And at that time, it took us more than a year to achieve and crack this deal, and where we migrate from the existing vendor to our supplier. And what really worked well is the continuous engagement with customer and to generate a trust and the confidence within the customer on our solution. We did not only the pilot of the real complete platform, but also collaborated with different stakeholders in technologies, in procurement side, and making sure that we are aligning with the customer's pain point, their expectation in terms of the both technology as well as the business side, and which give us a grand success. And we not only migrate on the one platform, but then we migrate 3 platforms from that OEM to our OEM, and that was the major success. So the lesson we learned is that you must be aligned with the client. You must know what is their pain. You must know what is their requirement, not only for today, for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So what is their vision? So the OEM must be aligned with the client's vision. And this is the one way to have the collaboration and to achieve success.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of the younger people who are trying to get a career in sales would get a lot of value from that. So it's all about aligning yourself with the customer and, of course, persistence as well. Like you continue to stay there, whether or not there were immediate quick wins. I think long term, you were able to change the customer's mind and establish that trust. No, I think that's fantastic. And of course, as a part of course, there are a few other responsibilities that I have, which is hiring good people like you and, setting a long-term vision and enabling the team. But it's also sales. I think sales is the lifeline of any organization. Without sales, there is nothing. And that's why it's such an important role, such a critical role. And I think reflecting back, and this is the story that I want to share with you. This is back in 2011. We were a very young company, just 1-year-old company. And we got really excited because we got an opportunity with a company called Semantic. And I still remember, so their office was in San Jose. And next thing we knew, we're wearing our business suits. And, we took a flight and there was a very nice gentleman. He was also, as a matter of fact, from the telecom industry, from AT&T. And he and I, we made made a presentation and we went there and we weren't expecting, but there was a room full of people, like there were 15 people. And that on the other side, it was just the two of us. And Anthony, started presenting, and his first slide was, showing a microwave. And he said, immediacy, like there was a story, like he's a creative person as well. And he wanted to tell a story that, hey, you had to wait for so long and, cook food, and now we have microwaves. And similarly, now, we have mobiles, you have the information in the palm of your hands. And before we could finish that story, the team is like, okay, stop. We don't want to hear all this. Tell us what kinds of solutions you can get for us. So, that really taught me that it's really, every customer is so unique. And to resonate with them, at times you have to mirror that behavior. And, so if customer is in a rush, if they want everything in 30 minutes, sure, we'll power through, all the information they need. And then if the customer wants to have a more leisure, a more philosophical conversation, then you have to transform yourself into, being somebody who is willing to have that kind of a conversation. And, along the way, I've read all these books that helped me a lot. I think the first one that really helped me was Influence, especially the prospects, right? How to ensure that you get through them. And then there was another book, which, not everything I agree. Oren Klaff is the author of that book, and that book is called Pitch Anything. Wonderful book. I think lots of good lessons. But then, there are some, variations of the way that I would approach any customer. For me, it's simple. Empathize with the customer, and then just genuinely get aligned with the customer in terms of love the customer and be like, no, I want to help this customer no matter what. And I've also seen that there's no substitute to hard work, meaning, and some of the important deals that we cracked early on, it was sheer because of, the burning the midnight oil, just, staying and just thinking about every single word that the customer said, every line that the customer wrote in the email, and then just thinking, okay, how do we solve this problem? And why did they say this? And just, talking with the team. And that's how, we started to move from initially when we started $10,000-$15,000 deals, in 2010 to then 40, 50,000. And then, of course, a few $1 million. And then finally came our big $10 million plus deals, just only about, it's 7 years now, 7 years ago. And that's when there was a complete shift, having that kind of a balance sheet and the resources available. And I feel like we have such an amazing opportunity, and the time that we're in 2024 is just such an amazing time to enable our customers with the power of AI, with the power of, mobile web solutions and cloud. I think it's just such an amazing time to be contacting prospects and trying to solve their problems. So that's wonderful. Now, North American customers, but I also know that it's a little bit different in other geographies. Like in Middle East, the saying is it's more relationship. In India, I think there is a little bit of, at times certain customers, would maybe some might think that would give you a runaround and keep you waiting, and all those experiences also I've heard. So tell me, how do you navigate different geographies, and what differences do you see in the geographies that you specialize in?
Okay, very well said. And both the regions, whether it's India or it's Africa or Middle East, so they all are into developing stage. If I compare it with the North America, it's a developed country, developed market. And but even though all three media, India, Middle East and Africa, even though they all are developing, but they are on at a different stage and different pace. Middle East, no doubt, it's a more market towards the relationship. Africa is a mixture of the relationship as well as the technology solutions. And India is absolutely different market. In India, you must show the value. The product and the solution must have the value in terms of the robustness, scalability, reliability. This is the most important the client is looking for. And at the top of this, the market is very, very price sensitive. So this is the difference between the different market. To reach to the end client, how fast you can reach to the end client and how best you can show the value is the key of the success in India market. So you must be fast, you must be best, and you must be reliable. This is the three things which you must have to have and have the deal with the Indian client. Within the India, now as per the government is very stable, the government policies are also very, very, lucrative. And the government is looking to make India a developed country in next 20 years. So there are lots of opportunities in India, in Middle East too. And we are at a very right time in India nowadays, where the solution which we have, whether it's a digital transformation, it's a AI ML and the Gen AI, as we met last week with one of the key customer. The customer is now looking for how AI or ML or Gen AI can be an integral part of their existing operation. So the mandate is very clear from the top management that the industry or the client or the business must adopt AI. When it is the matter of adoption, then they are ready for the investment. So it's a win-win situation for the OEMs, for the supplier, and for the customer. So the customer has a budget for the investment and the OEM or the supplier has a solution. So the market is very, very friendly and the lucrative. So we must swim and we must fly both in water as well as in the air to grab bigger and bigger deal. This is how the market is.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And I think that was such a good summary of comparing these markets. I think that's definitely going to be very valuable for some entrepreneurs who are trying to explore new markets. So that's amazing. Same thing. I think for the US market, it's really, what I've noticed, it's mostly on just being direct and giving, the best possible solution. And of course, it helps to have a good relationship, but that's not paramount. And then the good thing about the US market is that people move fast. There's not those longer sales cycles where, there is at times in some countries, maybe some bureaucracy to, just have multiple levels of approvals and hierarchy. I've noticed selling in the US, things just move fast. If you just give the business case, if you listen to the customer, and if you answer their questions, they just really, really move fast. And at times they may not show you that they like your solution right away, because I still remember that, there's a large manufacturing client that we work with in the US, and it's a really fantastic client, and they have been our client now for over a couple of years, and we're doing more and new things for them as well. Integrating Tekla as one of the important platforms. So the very first meeting, if someone hears the recording, was nothing where anyone could guess that we would get the business, because they kept focusing on answering or asking us the question that, have you really worked with steel fabricators? And I just was very honest. And I was like, listen, there are certain principles that apply across verticals. We work with other manufacturers, we have a solution like this, and all of that should show you the expertise that we have and our willingness to, do a good job. So, and then of course, we got that customer and they're happy, and we're launching some products for them. I think, what are some of the other lessons that can be learned from the US market? Like why some of the prospects I've seen get really excited with the idea of working with a US based company. Why do you think, like, getting into the psychology of the customer, why do some of the developing countries want to work with the US based companies? Isn't the price tag high for the US based companies? I mean, the cost is at least 3 times or so for even the labor. So why do companies give so much importance to US based companies? I mean, good, I'm not complaining, but why is that, do you think?
So the answer is very straightforward. So once you have an address or a tag of a US based company, the world, especially the India, Middle East, Africa, Europe, the trust factor automatically comes into the picture. So once the trust comes into the picture, the customer is ready to engage. So the engagement becomes faster, engagement becomes efficient. So this is the main factor which comes into play once you say we are US based company. And it's same like if you have a US passport, then most of the nations gives you the visa on arrival.
True.
So it's the same way. So this is the trust factor.
Abandon your life in
Exactly.
and you won't be a liability to us. No, that's a good point. And I think, again, I'm glad with the stroke of luck or whatever way, we are a US based company because, our founders, including myself, are settled there. And, I at times feel like we get the best of both the worlds. We get the best technology people, from the Indian markets, and we're able to tap into that. And then we also, get that trust factor from being a Delaware registered C Corp, because you're right. I mean, the legal system is so good. And, for us, one thing that we have really lived by is that no matter what, ultimately you have to satisfy the customer. Like you have to satisfy the customer. You don't leave a customer hanging, you don't fight with the customer. Of course, you still have to put across your points because sometimes there may be these scope creeps that may happen. There may be other challenges, some, bugs may come up in production, but then when you sit with the customer, in that problem and try to come out of that problem with them, then, I think it builds that even stronger relationship. So I agree with you. And I think that being from the US and having a lot of the customers in the last 14 years from the US definitely helps. And I feel like there is a lot of innovation as well. There is that risk-taking appetite of the US-based companies that is higher. And that's why a lot of the solutions are first incubated in those markets. Not all, but a lot of them. These ideas come, from the US market. Although when you think about certain solutions, there is not that exact same solution that worked in the US would work here, or in the Middle East or in Africa. So all of these markets are so unique. I mean, even when you take healthcare, it works completely differently in the US. And when you compare it with, India or in Middle East, I think,
It's absolutely different.
It's absolutely different. So it's very important to really understand that particular geography and that country and the challenges and accordingly motivate, the customer to invest in that solution with us. Talking about motivating the prospect, another important aspect of our jobs is to motivate our team, to motivate, our sales engineering team, our solutioning team, and then other sales operations staff. How do you motivate your team, and any tips that you'd like to offer to fellow entrepreneurs or other young people who are now becoming a manager and having a team of their own? How do you motivate your team?
Okay, that's great. That's a great question. So to motivate the team or win, so basically the word called collaboration among the different team members, whether they are from pre-sales or they are from the account or the operation or the legal team or the finance team, because the project can be successful once all the team members of that project is aligned with the project mission and the project vision and the goal. To motivate the team members to achieve the success, the leader must engage positively among all the team members. And each team member must work from his or her heart, not just to come to the office morning to evening. That may not lead to the success of the project. Each and every individual must work sincerely from the heart, and once they are willing to go the mile extra to achieve the success, because the leader is with them and they are working for leader, and both the teams are working together for an organization, and the organization is ready to serve the customer, and this 360-degree loop is complete, you will and we will get the project. This is how to motivate the entire team member, and the team member should collaborate with each other too. That is another important thing. Make sure that each team member is collaborating not only with the leader, but with them others too. This is another most important thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. So, see, you got a 24-year-long career. How have you seen some of the sales tools change and evolve with the technology, and how have you seen these new ways of engaging with the customer? And maybe if you can give some examples, like what used to work 20 years ago or 10 years ago, but now the way to engage and prospect and to generate opportunities, how is that different, and how can technology play a role in that?
Super. So the change in technology or the change in reaching to the customer in last 20 years is absolutely transformed. So the 20 years ago, reaching to the customer was more towards a manual way, or more towards personal touch. But in last 20 years, if I talk about today, then you can reach to the customer through different means, whether it's a digital marketing, LinkedIn, emails, phones, campaigning, events, and participants, and all those things. Reaching to the right audience in today's environment at a continent level is much faster as compared to 20 years ago. Today, if I want to reach to my customer, I know the industry, I know where I want to reach, which CXO I want to touch upon. It's much faster to reach to the client. I would like to tell to the people or to my team members who want to pursue their career into sales, you must know how the technology is evolving, what customer is asking for. Because in today's scenario, all the customers are on digital platform. We must know what are the active digital platforms where you can touch upon to the customer. That is the most important thing. And then you should know about the technology. Reaching to the customer is one thing. Then you should know what you are going to talk to the customer. Which value, what solution you are bringing to the customer. How you can help him. How you can help to his pain point to the business. As a salesperson, even though you are into the business side, you must know the technology. You must know the value. You must know the latest. Today's everyone is talking about AI, ML, Gen AI. Knowing these words is good. But then as a salesperson, you must know what is AI, what is ML, what is Gen AI, which company is investing more, what are their strategies, how you can help to the customer. Like the same way the last week that our logistic client asked us how Gen AI, how AI can help in the logistic supply chain business. So as a salesperson, the salesperson must know about the business value into the client's business, how the technology can help to reduce the cost, growth in the revenue, and efficiency in the operation. This is the key words I would like to share with my team members and with my peers.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Now that's great.
Yeah.
Now, what would you tell somebody who is, let's say, wanting to make a career in sales, but they're like, there is so much competition, and every CXO is getting bombarded with emails and phone calls and LinkedIn outreaches. So how do you differentiate yourself and your organization when reaching out to a potential prospect, right? Do you have any tips to share for people who think that, hey, there's just too many digital transformation companies out there, so how are we going to differentiate?
So if other companies are on the same platform which you are trying to use it, then my advice is try to use a different platform. The CXOs are nowadays not spending much time into their chamber. They are also keep on traveling. They are global CXOs now. So they are keep on moving and attending different events, activities, webinars, and whether it's a MWC or CXO Enclave, there are different platforms you can meet those customers face to face. Try to find out what are those events which are really helpful, which are really fruitful, which can help you to reach out to the right CXOs and can help you to convert into business, number one. Number two, undoubtedly, the personal connect will definitely help you to reach to your customer. Trying to find out how and which personal connect can help you to reach out to the customer. So these are the two lessons I would like to share. One, use an alternate way, because there is always an alternate way. There's always a different way to reach to the solution. And second, to reach to the client, trying to find out the personal connect.
Got it. No, that's wonderful. I'd like to add to some of that what I've seen is sometimes young salespeople just really are hungry and they want to do the activity, and they would just, let's say, reach out to somebody on LinkedIn and say, hey, we do all this and can you give us business? I mean, I don't know if that's the most efficient way because they're getting bombarded. But then again, if you are thoughtful about your engagement, and if first you cite some similarities and genuinely, maybe there is a blog that they're writing and you cite some similarities and you're like, by the way, I've been a reader of your blog and I found this and this, and I want to ask you this question, like, when have you been the happiest, or something like, there may be something even personal or coaching that you can ask, and you don't have to directly get to like, give me business, and that doesn't have to be the intention. You could look up to somebody just genuinely and ask for a question that you have in mind, and then let them respond, and then build that relationship over 3 or 4 messages. And that's when you can ask for some help, because I talked about the book Influence. One thing that I learned from it was the principle of reciprocity. If you are genuine and if you genuinely do something for others, they're going to respond. They're going to feel that inherent need to respond to you and somehow help you out. So, just being very genuinely interested in what is their problem, instead of just saying, hey, work with us and, give us business, or, why don't you take our services? I think that may not be the best possible way. I also like to give you another framework that helped me a lot. So back in 2016, I attended an event in Redwood City, and I was in the audience where there was a very nice panel and there were lots of questions. And I had this genuine question because they were talking about how VCs help product companies. And of course, we are a services business. I mean, we do have certain products and frameworks and, we fund certain products, but that is a different identity. So we spin it off usually like, our latest endeavor in Mindfulness Studio, which is a meditation application, or Realcraft.ai, which is an application that creates from text to video. So I asked this question and I was like, but what about the services company? Like, what is the mantra for the services companies to grow and be really a long-term sustainable organization? And the answer that I got, I kept, really close to my heart in terms of like always living by it. And the answer was, it's all about content and community. So what that means is like, let's say we want to help customers in manufacturing and in fintech, or multi-retail, and if we create content on certain things that may be helpful to those prospects, to those customers, then we continue to create content. We put it on social media. We send them that content. We create white papers, and then eventually look for building a community. And within that community, we're going to be top of mind. So whenever they have something that they need, they're going to think of us. Or when our salespeople reach out to them, they'll be like, yeah, you know what? I remember the CEO, he did a podcast with this, healthcare company, and I found some value in that. Or, I know who they are and what they stand for and what the culture is. Then it's more likely. So again, the logic is content and community. That is the mantra for success, for a services-based company like us, who wants to serve as many clients as possible, who wants to, who's hungry for business and has ambitious goals of, doing business globally. So
that's really a good way. That's really a good way.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, so looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities facing sales organization, and how do you plan to address them in your role as Vice President of Sales?
So basically, the main challenge for the services companies nowadays is towards basically the global market. The curve is not very friendly. Somehow the international market, mainly into the IT side, whether it's our competitors. Well, I will it's the competitors, but the same companies who are in the IT technology services, Wipro, Infosys, TCS. So all are trying to do better and better for this financial year. The last financial year was really not very good, but this financial year should be better than the last financial year. So challenges are always there. If there are challenges, the opportunities will also come into the parallel. So in order to reach more and more customer and to generate more revenue, my strategy is to explore multiple verticals. So no need to be fixed or the firm with a single vertical, whether it's logistics or the retail. Keep on exploring the multiple verticals, because the India, as an example, a developing nation towards developed country, manufacturing is the main focus for the government. So government is coming forward with lots of policies. Let's say India become a global manufacturing hub. And in order to have focused into the manufacturing company, I'm trying to focus more and more on manufacturing vis-a-vis into the retail side. And in the manufacturing, if there are lots of things are manufacturing, then the logistics and the transport also comes into play. So both are hand in hand. So manufacturing and the logistics, these are the two sectors which will be in the front runner in the coming years, especially for the Indian market. So these two industries I am focusing on, and I'm seeing a lot of opportunities in these two verticals.
I agree. And this has been the talk in a lot of the, like even in CNBC, that how India is now doing things in logistics a lot better. Like our logistics cost is 14% of GDP, and for China it's 15%. So we surpassed China by becoming more efficient in logistics. And of course, for a developed country like US, it's around 8%. So 8% of the GDP is logistics. Of course, the GDP is a lot bigger. And then, of course, the cost is they're more efficient because of the use of technology. So, I jokingly tell my friends from other geographies that on Amazon, when we like something, we order like 3 different products and we're like, okay, well, we're going to keep this and return the other 2. And then the manufacturer and the retailer is able to absorb that cost. But I think we're not there yet in India, but with the agenda of the government and with the progress through technology, I think that's going to be an important aspect where we can play, a role as well. Also, I think,
Sure.
in the US as well, the Make in America and also the manufacturing dependency on China, eliminating that is also another important aspect, and looking for alternatives like Taiwan and India, like the iPhone production is going to be happening in India in the near future. And I know that even, there were some talks from Tesla as well, doing something similar. And other bigger companies are going to do that as well, because the chip shortages that happened during the pandemic really, was an eye opener for our government in the US as well. And that's when there's a lot of money that's going in, and there's this landmark bill passed on infrastructure, that includes a lot of good things for manufacturing sector as well. So that's wonderful. Well, great. I think this has been a really fantastic conversation, Vikas. I'm really glad that we were able to share some of our plans with our partners, with some of our customers, with our global workforce, and even the rest of the employees, because it's difficult to get that kind of an intimate conversation, for everyone. So I'm glad we were able to do that. I really want to thank you for your time, and of course, you have my full support. And let's go get some amazing clients, and world domination is the goal. So fantastic,
Yes.
awesome.
Thank you very much, Arvind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vikas.
And
Great speaking with you.
let's make our organization from Central or North America to the global company, where we will have our customers into different continents, into different industries.
Wonderful, fantastic. You'll have all of my support. Thank you, Vikas.
Thank you.
Let's make it happen. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.